You can have a pure sport bike kind of feel from the motorcycle, as well as a very plush touring feel, as well as a very capable off-road feel. It does truly create a motorcycle that feels like a Swiss Army knife, like it is a jack of all trades.
Hey, Bikeaholics, Zero 3D has a wide variety of innovative products for your Harley-Davidson and a brand new line for the all-new Honda Goldwing named Gold Strike. Top quality, affordable chrome lighting and comfort products. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN, bus, plug-and-play system compatibility. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our full line of Zero 3D products. Want to ride longer, Lurch? Are you tired of a sore and achy ass?
Yes.
I know you are. Then fix it with a high-quality butt buffer seat cushion. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full lineup of butt buffer seat cushions. Mm-hmm. And I went on a 8-hour adventure ride yesterday on the KLR 650 with Oscar. And yes, it was long. And I had the butt buffer medium size on there that you put on there for me. And I'll tell you what, it saved my ass.
It's a game changer.
It is. My ass was still getting by the end, but it allows you. So no matter what, your butt's going to get a little sore, right? And it's going to get tired, especially on a KLR seat. Yeah. But it allowed
Keeps
me
that pain away.
Yeah, it led me to move the pressure points because it's gel. It's not gel. It's a medical grade material, but it just allows you to move and do pressure points and just gives you a little more. By the end of the day, I was ready to get off it, though. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, yeah, once you've had Rick Rack, you'll never go back to Ultimate Motorcycle Luggage Rack Solution. Forget those messy straps and bungee cords. Go strapless, Lurch, with a Rick Rack quick attach luggage system and quality bag. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and get hooked up now. And we, at the time of recording this episode, will be leaving on our West Coast trip. And we're going to meet up with our patrons, a special ride and catered event. And of course, many of us here will be rocking the Rick Rack quick detach luggage systems. You know it. Oh, shall we do it, Lurch?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
All right. Welcome back, you freaking bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority, the Big MM, also known as the
99%.
Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene more than any time in history. That's right, by being here, by listening. That's right, whether you like it or not, and I know they like it, Lurch. You're part of what we call the hashtag
Biker a Revolution.
Feel it.
Feel it in my loins.
Lurch, we do have one question for the audience. Before we get started,
mount up and let us take you on another wild-ass ride.
There you go. That's right. Ryan Erlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker podcast and your
high-tech redneck.
Lurch in the house here. It is Lurch's first podcast, I will announce, post-retirement from his 25-year career in law enforcement, and he's coming to work for Law Abiding Biker Media full-time as Chief Operations Officer. It's also his first time doing a morning podcast, I think, without having a beer in our hand.
Pretty sure, and if it isn't, it's been a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
And it's really weird podcasting with coffee versus beer.
It is. You're all amped up. You're all twitching
up
like a squirrel over there and stuff, dude. But
jacked up like a spider monkey.
There you go. And maybe Lurch and I probably, because this is very fresh, literally like 3 days ago, was his retirement. So congratulations on that, brother. That. Congratulations on you made it. But we're going to do an episode, probably me and Lurch, where we'll actually sit down and talk more in depth about his career and coming to work for LAB as Chief Operations Officer and just some of that stuff. Hopefully down the road here, not too far from me. We'll see. We'll see how this thing's going, and your guys' continued support is the only reason I can even look at that. But we'll see. But I do want to talk about now when I retire from the Leo job and go to this full time, then we're going to have some real stories, because then we were saying we get our First Amendment. You have your First Amendment rights back, and we can actually talk about a lot of the inside stuff and some of the things, because we have a lot of history, me and Lurch, and some things we did together that, and nothing that's bad. It's just you can't talk about certain things because a lot of it's confidential, or there's policies in place. So anyways, it'll be some fun stories, and we can actually open up about some of the fun times and some of the weird things that happen and stuff like that. So look forward to those episodes. So very good. Now, love our sponsors, paid sponsors up front, but these folks are also paying. That's right, pledging to make sure the show, after 8.5 years, keeps coming at you.
We got John Fuller of North Highlands, California. Brian Danker of Redwood City, California. He is a top tier. Kim Britton of Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Michael Schlemmer of Bend, Oregon, top tier. Aaron Pendergrast of Lynn, Massachusetts. Robert Gilliam, thank you so much.
Brian Peterson of Norton Shores, Michigan. Frank Stevenson of Clear Lake, California, top tier. And Jim Rasco of Houston, Texas, also top tier.
LawAbidingBiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. That's right. Pledge a certain amount per piece of content. No risk to you, because you can put a monthly cap. There are benefits such as t-shirts and stickers. You get access to the private, troll-free, patron member-only Facebook group. Access, of course, live video broadcasts and chat, podcasts early, and for those top tier, access to premium videos up on request. Oh, and everybody mid-tier and above get access to those ride, meetup, and events like we're going to do here in California coming up very soon at the time of this recording. We're going to dive in. We've got a great episode for you guys. We've got a couple guests directly from Harley-Davidson. That's right. And we were excited. It took a long time to get them on just because of schedules. But man, we are going to break down the Pan America, Harley-Davidson's first adventure motorcycle, a well-established segment of the motorcycle market. And they are jumping in both feet. And you get to decide whether they did it right, whether they did it wrong, or what you think. And we're going to ask a lot of technical questions. And by the end of the episode, you are going to have a good idea of what the Pan America is all about. Is it a competitor, or is it right for you? Because there is a lot of crossover. Obviously, I ride adventure. Lurch, now that he's retired, is going to, we've been talking about what adventure bike he's going to get. We're always near and dear to our street Harley-Davidsons and Indians and that kind of stuff. But adventure riding is also very, very fun. And I went on a beautiful, well, I shouldn't say beautiful. I went on a long ride yesterday. It was wet, muddy, and crazy, but it's a different experience. I always love both, but there are a lot of you out there in the listening audience that are both. And I think it's going to bring some that thought about it to the market too. So let me mention this new free video up front, and then we're going to dive in with our two guests here. How to install a Kawasaki KLR 650 Rally Dash panel, second generation. It is a tutorial video. And speaking of adventure stuff, that's right. You can go to actually, I'll put it in the show notes, lawabidingbiker.com/whatever episode number this is, or just go over to the website or the YouTube channels. Use the search box, KLR 650 Rally Dash panel. It's a great panel. It's got your voltage on it, and it adds to the KLR. It adds two 12-volt sockets, so I can plug in my phone for GPS and all that kind of stuff. And again, monitors your, covers up a gap, but also monitors. Never mind. I was going to get off track there. And monitors your voltage and all that kind of stuff. So that's a new, completely free tutorial video for you. So let me introduce the two guests we're going to talk to here today. And Mike Case from Harley-Davidson, of course, he is a lifelong motorcyclist and has spent his entire career in automotive and power sports, and the last 19 years at Harley-Davidson. He is currently the group chief engineer for vehicle platforms and oversaw the team that brought the all-new Pan America and Revolution Max engine to life. And we also on the line have Paul James. He's worked in power sports his entire career, working as a journalist in the snowmobile industry in marketing at Arctic Cat Incorporated, Snowmobile, ATV, and PWC. And for the past 23 years at Harley-Davidson, Paul has held a variety of roles at Harley, including marketing, PR, events, product planning, and go-to-market. He is currently senior manager of public relations and is an avid motorcycle rider and racer. So there you go. Some good backgrounds there. And with that said, let's just dive right on into our interview. So we appreciate you guys being here. Just in the interest of time, because I know you guys are busy, I'm just going to dive in because I got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm super excited about this bike. And so the Pan America is Harley's first adventure motorcycle. I got to ask, we're avid Harley guys here. I got 3 of them out here, plus my police bike. I ride a police electric glide. So we're definitely Harley fans. So I was excited. I'm also an adventure rider. So I'll give you a little background. I also went yesterday on my KLR 650. We went on an 8-hour ride. So I'm in both of those games. So I was excited to see Harley dive into this, but I got to ask, what's Harley's thinking on this to enter a completely different segment of the motorcycle market?
Yeah, it's a fair question. And Ron, when we kicked off the research for the program, and I'll just say it was the most extensive customer research we've ever done for any program. One of the things that we learned when we were looking at the market, talking to customers from around the world, there were a lot of Harley-Davidson owners who also owned adventure touring motorcycles. So we recognized that as an interesting opportunity, given that they already had experience with the brand. They knew their dealer, they were in their dealer, and they were adventure touring riders. So they had a stable of motorcycles that included that as well as a Harley. So that was one interesting observation we learned. But we also, in talking to other adventure touring customers from around the world, we started to understand kind of where they saw their bikes and where they felt there was opportunity to, to improve. And we saw opportunities for us to enter the space and make an impact. So
it sounds to me like you guys had an idea, or Harley, I should say, had an idea. And then do you do surveys on that, or how do you collect all that data to determine what your rider base is?
Yeah, we did a lot of surveys and research. It was global, so we talked to customers from around the world. We did, essentially to the level of granular detail of going into people's homes, talking to individuals, really spending some time with them and understanding the nuances of what they wanted from their motorcycles, what they loved about their current adventure touring bikes, and what they didn't love, to help us really understand the opportunity. And as well, so it was qualitative and quantitative research. So we had a vast amount of data to go through that showed us the real market opportunity and helped us understand the space. And of course, as well, there's a very established competitive set of motorcycles out there. So we had those motorcycles as well. And Michael can speak more to that from an engineering standpoint. We took them apart, we studied them, we understood, what the benchmarks were in this segment.
So I got to ask, you go into this, you do the, we'll call it a study or market research. Was there anything that really surprised you when you dove in and started asking those questions? You're like, wow, I did not know that about our customers.
I think what I mentioned earlier was one I think that we were a little surprised by was how many Harley-Davidson owners already were in the space or had experience in the space. And that was a big aha moment as well. When we talked to customers from around the world, in some cases we didn't tell them who we were. In many cases we did. And the acceptance, the belief that wow, Harley-Davidson's interested in this space, that's exciting. But also we understood there was some skepticism as well. Like, okay, well, let's just see what they do in this space. It was healthy for us to understand that, but it gave us permission, if you will, to really come in aggressively. But we also knew we had to come in with the right product.
So with that said, how from you get this Harley at some point got an idea, and I don't know if you know or when that was, but from implementing or taking that idea and then bringing this bike to market, what are we looking at for a timeline on something like this? Because it's a brand new platform. You aren't working off another frame. You're not working off this is a whole, which we're going to dive into here in a minute. So give me an idea of the process there.
Well, years in the making, but I'll let Michael speak to the complexity of the development programs and how there are parallel streams and paths that are happening where it's difficult to really give a start-stop date. Michael, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's different technology and different systems that have different timelines and product development. So, when we talk about adaptive ride height, that was part of our innovation strategy. That was, what we refer to as innovation on the shelf, that we've been looking at other applications. The same thing with the powertrain. The powertrain, we are working on, this is an example of DVT technology, material developments, and then it all culminates into a program. But everything's on a kind of a different timeline, depending on the technology. And, even in the case of the ARH, we had this technology on it for a different application, but through this customer research and in regards to one of the key customer challenges is seat height. We had this existing technology that we're like, hey, this is a perfect application for it. So, but years in the making.
Yeah, I figured. All right, so let's break down. Obviously, a brand new motor engine we're talking about here. The Revolution Max 1250cc motor. Can we break that down? And I may have some follow-up questions, but what this motor is all about and some of the specs of it and things like that, and maybe some of the behind-the-scenes development that went into it.
Yeah, I'll let Mike speak to most of this, but I just want to tee it up by saying there is some, I guess, misperceptions that it was an existing, powertrain that we modified. It was some, iteration of the Revolution motor from the V-Rod, or the Revolution X motor from the street, because they share a similar architecture and in fact shares the same bore and stroke as the V-Rod's powertrain. But it's an entirely new powertrain designed and built from the ground up, completely in-house. But I'll let Michael speak to the powertrain as well as some of the specifications. But it's a fantastic motor.
Sure. Yeah. So starting with the basic specs, right? 150 horsepower, 94 foot-pounds of torque, a pretty high compression ratio of 13:1, and from a Harley standpoint, and a pretty high peak RPM of 9,500 RPM. So it's it's water cooled. It has certain technology like variable valve timing, very modern, high performance motor. Starting from the outside in, one of the key aspects of the engine is that it's a stressed member of the frame. And so you have a front frame member that bolts on to support the steer head and handlebars, and then you have a rear frame member that supports the rear of the bike. And that was an early architectural decision in order to enable lightweight motorcycle. So as you just were talking around, the customer research, the word that continued to come in to the vocabulary within the engineering team was credibility. So I probably use that word all the time. What we have to come to the market with a credible, bike. And that includes things like performance, which I just described in the engine. And it includes things like weight. We have to have a very credible, competitive weight. And so that architecture of the Rev Max as a stressed member was part of that decision. Is we want to be credible in this space, we have to have performance and we have to have lightweight. And so that's kind of the big picture architecture. Getting into the motor, then, and I'm going to caveat everything I say, which is I'm not the powertrain chief engineer, so you're getting this a bit secondhanded. You start with the 60-degree V, not the 45, right? So there's architecture changes, systems or decisions we made like this, and it really is around things like packaging space on the motorcycle. So we needed a compact packaging space. We do have examples of this with V-Rod, though it's a new motor. And then everything from, induction, downdraft induction, which goes to performance. We don't have the typical air cleaner hanging off the side. We have a air volume under the tank that drives performance. So the two velocity stacks going down, again, performance driven decisions. And then inside the motor with whether it's, bring some of our, standard stuff that's new to this segment, like hydraulic adjusting lashes, or new things like VVT. All of that was bringing a little bit of Harley and a little bit of performance. The VVT, was a big discussion due to complexity, due to cost, etc. But we decided on VVT as the best technology to provide the low-end torque and flat torque band that Harley customers sort of expect, along with that high revving, high performance, spec that some of the higher, sport-oriented riders expect. And so, completely variable, I think 40-degree variable VVT allows us a lot of control of this motor to provide both that low-end flat torque band and high performance. And then getting into balancing and things like that we talked about single balancers. We added a balancer on the front end. That's around the feel of the motorcycle. So another aspect of this was we wanted to provide some amount of feel that people can expect out of Harley. It's got to feel alive. It's got to feel intuitive. It's got to feel responsive. But we also understand that this customer wants something a little different. And so we play around with different balancing techniques to provide the appropriate feel. So like people like me would ride different variants with different types of balance to say what is appropriate for this customer and still retain that Harley, that characterful feel that you have in a Harley in a new high performance motor. And a lot of this, even in the powertrain, we went into a lot of lightweighting, a lot of, this is probably going to bore you, maybe some of your customers, but
not at all.
A lot of computer optimization of parts to reduce weight, magnesium covers, again, to reduce weight and things like that. So weight was, on everyone's mind. We were fighting for grams on this. And so that was a pretty good challenge for us.
So awesome stuff. I want to back it up a little bit just for the audience and just to make sure I have a good handle on it. When you talked about VVT, that it's computer controlled, and that's a variable valve timing. And correct me after I say this if I'm wrong on any of this, but we're looking at basically a dual overhead cam. And so the way I understand is there's an intake and exhaust cams on both cylinders. Can you, and how does, so with that, how does that work? Is it basically adjusting all the time?
Yeah, it's almost, some people use the word continuous variable valve timing, or CVVT, and this is very close to that, as Michael noted. It's not like a shift cam technology where some of our competitors use, where you have two profiles. This is very, very variable, and the end game for the customer is they want torque on demand. They want very drivable power at low throttle openings and low speeds, as well as the hit of torque when you twist the throttle to wide open, as well as peak, power when you want it, right? So that's asking a lot out of a powertrain, and this technology enables you to deliver that in a very seamless way.
Great, and I just want to follow up too, just for the audience, the hydraulic valve lash adjusters. That's a big thing to me too. If you don't know, obviously you got to go in and adjust those all the time with this. And correct me if I'm wrong, both of you. These are adjusting themselves, so maintenance costs and getting in there all the time. Not ever going to have to do that for the life, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was again something that we have experience with that with our big twin and Sportster powertrains, and it's something that has not been introduced in this segment nor in typically this type of application. So it's something that it's one of those things that we looked at and we said, all right, what are as Michael noted, the basic architecture, the things we wanted to deliver in terms of a powertrain, in terms of horsepower and weight and performance. But where are the ways that, beyond the benchmark, where can we win? that's something we felt a technology we could bring to the table that is winning, that is different from what other competitors offer in the space.
Yep. Yeah, it's an awesome deal. So, all right, good breakdown of the engine. So, what during the design did you guys focus? You focused on a lot of stuff. It sounds like that went into it, but did you focus on the sound of the Revolution Max? So it basically sounds different than other competing adventure bikes. I know it doesn't sound like a Harley. It's a whole new motor, so I don't want to confuse it with that. But did you try to do anything to have it sound different?
Well, Michael talked about it a little bit in terms of characterful power delivery. We knew that was important. It's something that you want the motor to feel alive. You want it to have the right vibrations and the right sound quality. You want to hear the right types of sounds from it. And of course, at Harley-Davidson, we have a lot of experience in this space, and so it was something we did focus on, and we did want to put our own stamp on this in the segment that. Where the motor you could connect with it as the rider.
Yeah, and this was one of maybe the big challenges, in this project, which is we have very specific specs around characterful power, around whether it's vibration I mentioned or whether it's sound, and we have targets, and we had to readjust those targets and kind of learn, and we did have competitor sets out there, the BMWs, Hondas, Ducatis, KTMs, and we, benchmarked all of them for the types of noises, whether it's intake noise, whether it's, we call it mechanical noise from the motor, or whether it was exhaust noise, coming out the back. And we do a fair amount of tuning across all three of those. But with this new technology, to your point, it is different, and we do try to differentiate ourselves from sound, from the competition, and bring our own, again, Harley character to this segment. There's a fair amount of work in that space.
Yeah, well, I haven't had the opportunity to hear it run yet, but I can't wait. Hopefully get some ride time on this bad boy. But let's dive in. So I understand that for $1,000, you can add, and you mentioned it earlier, you called it ARH. That's adaptive ride height, which is what I've seen of it as an awesome technology that was developed there. Basically, can you explain I'm going to call it ARH, and basically what the benefits are and what people can expect with that?
So to start with, we'll talk about the idea that by their nature, adventure touring bikes are tall, and to accommodate the ground clearance that's necessary to ride off road, as well as the suspension travel that's necessary to ride off road. And so we understood in the research that there were many, many customers who were uncomfortable on their adventure touring bikes, the seat height of them, particularly if they were shorter, or if they would ride with a passenger and fully loaded, or if they were riding in places where the footing was not great. Many times they're on just the balls of their feet, or perhaps one footing it, and they just were asking for something like, how do I have a lower seat height without taking away the things I need in terms of ground clearance and suspension travel? And that led to the thinking behind ARH. And as Michael noted, and I'll let him speak to this, it was a technology that we've been experimenting with, and we found it had a great home in terms of solving for that problem the customers expressed.
Yeah, and so how adaptive ride height, or ARH, works is that it impacts both the front forks and the rear shocks. So it's working in both the front and the rear of the bike, and as you pull away from a stop sign, or pull away from your garage, the hydraulic motion of the bike will pump up the suspension, and such to get you to the proper ride height of the bike. And so as you ride, you have full suspension, full ground clearance. When you come to a stop, then there's actuators in the suspension that release that hydraulics and allow the bike to drop. And it drops somewhere between 2 inches to 1 inch, depending on the ballast on the bike. And And so then you have, you're down closer to the ground. You have better control of the bike. Some people are, quite frankly, myself included, flat-footed, completely flat-footed on these bikes with the adaptive ride height. And, you can turn this off. There are people in off-road conditions that might not want this. They might not want to be dropping and being pumped up if they're, a technical off-road course. There's ways to turn this off, as well as you can tweak the settings a bit, how fast it is. I can tell you that from my own experience, and Paul, you can chime in. I could not tell the difference. I couldn't tell it was doing what it was doing. Meaning is I tried different ways to figure out a way to stop without me being low. In the suspension, always it's low when you stop. And it kind of kicks on somewhere around like 6 miles per hour. You'll start sensing it, and then it'll drop. But it's imperceptible to the rider.
It's it's very, very intuitive, and it is almost imperceptible when it's functioning. In that you just reach your foot out for the ground, and it's there. What it's doing is it's sensing your rate of deceleration, your use of brake lever, whether it's front or rear, and it's sensing your intent to come to a stop, and then providing you that 30% of your sag of your suspension back to you by lowering as you come to a stop. And then, as Michael said, once you start to ride again, any movement of the shock absorber or the front forks brings that ride height up to that 30% level. Depending on how much weight you have, changes how much that is. It's automatically giving you that 30% sag, and then returning it to you every time you come to a stop. And you can set it in automatic, so it's completely controlled by the computer. You can also have a short delay, where it's a half-second delay or a 2-second delay, or you can turn it off entirely should you not want that feature to be active.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to experience that, and I've heard great things about it. I'll tell you right now that the audience is going to hear this, and it's already turning their mind, because you got this technology now. Is this going to make it for our shorter riders onto our Harley touring street lineup? I don't know if you guys know that, but I guarantee people are like light bulb, because people have wanted that for a long time. So I think it's great technology there. Let's move into the ride modes on this bike. You've got different ride modes. Can you talk about those modes, and maybe what's the bike actually doing to meet those specific parameters the best you can? Ride longer and treat your ass with some respect already. Get hooked up with a premium butt buffer seat cushion. This company of bikers developed a super thin hospital-grade seat cushion made of solid and elastic materials, and it's unlike those gel pads that will leak if punctured. The butt buffer is designed not to slide around in your seat, fits all motorcycles, installs in seconds, easily cleans, and helps to dampen vibrations. With plenty of models to choose from, they assure you'll have a comfortable ass when riding. Head over to the Law Abiding Biker store and check out our lineup of butt buffer seat cushions. Are you searching for the easiest and quickest attachable luggage system for your motorcycle? Rick Rack has just what you're looking for. Forget those frustrating straps and bungee cords that can come loose and slap your paint. Check out one of Rick Rack's awesome quick attach strapless luggage rack systems. This father-son team designed something really special. You can't find it anywhere else. Yep, and these guys ride, so they truly understand the needs of bikers. The Rick Rack quick attach system is strong, durable, and secure with a lockable system. Also, check out their full line of quality touring bags to accompany your quick detach system. Once you use Rick Rack, you'll never go back. What are you waiting for, Bikeaholics? Head over lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our full line of Rick Rack luggage systems. Hey, Bikeaholics! Searching for new and exciting motorcycle products? Zero3D has just what you're looking for. Check out their wide variety of innovative products for Harley-Davidson and Honda Goldwing motorcycles. Zero3D's got your back with chrome and black parts, lighting, and other comfort products. No modifying, cutting, grinding, or welding for an easy installation. That equals less time installing and more time riding. Zero3D has a design team with over 40 years experience with a passion for design and innovation. CAN bus made simple. with a plug-and-play lighting system. They pride themselves on great customer service. Got a question? Email them. sales@zero3d.com. Give them a call, 715-808-0027. Check out your local Harley or Honda dealership and ask for Zero or Gold Strike parts. A new leader has emerged. Check out Zero3D's custom line of Gold Strike products for Honda Goldwings. Help support us. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our full line of Zero3D products.
You want me to have a go at that?
Sure.
Okay.
We can tag team it.
Yeah. Okay. So, in this segment, this is somewhat common in that there's a sport mode, a road mode, a rain mode, and an off-road mode. And then in off-road, there's oftentimes two settings. And what these modes do is it combines a bunch of parameters on the bike, including throttle progressivity, so the throttle angle. It can include things like engine braking, traction control. It controls ABS and how the ABS works. And then in this on the specials models, it also includes how the semi-active suspension operates. And so one of the nice things that I think we've done with our ride modes, both on the Pan Am and the Pan Am Special, is we've got a lot of customization. So you've got additional customization, and we've heard this from a lot of customers that they might want sport mode, but they might want maybe something slightly different with, like, let's say, traction control. And so they can make a custom mode, and we've got a couple of those of custom modes that we can let the rider kind of pick and choose. And through various discussions, people inevitably are looking for something a little different, whether it's in engine braking or throttle progressivity, or even in suspension comfort. They might want in rain mode, they might not want soft suspension, which is what it comes with, is off-road soft. They might want to make it a little, more balanced. So the ride modes are also very well defined, meaning there's a big difference in sport mode to a street, off-road, and rain. So you get a lot of different. The bike feels quite a bit different between these two modes.
Yeah, it's nature. Its whole nature changes. When you go from, say, road mode, which I feel is a great base setting for most conditions, to sport mode, you can feel the tautness of the suspension increase. So what's happening with that semi-active suspension is that the valves are changing their damping rates. So it's more firm, and it gives you more feel for the road. And that's great when the roads are smoother and when you really want aggressiveness in your turn in and acceleration up the corner. And then, when it's a very different feel when you're in off-road mode. But as Michael said, we offer 5 kind of base modes in the special, and then the rider has the ability to select 2 completely custom modes that they can base off one of the other modes and then fine-tune those parameters to their liking, or for maybe a very certain circumstance that they're going to ride in, as well as another off-road mode that they can customize. And we give them the parameter abilities to really change the character of the motorcycle to a point where I feel that you can have a pure sport bike kind of feel from the motorcycle, as well as a very plush touring feel, as well as a very capable off-road feel. It does truly create a motorcycle that feels like a Swiss Army knife, like it is a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I can't wait to toy with those. I got to ask, is there a way that so we talk about traction control as being one of the parameters in these ride modes, one of many. Can we turn traction control off and or other ride modes? Because I'm thinking, sometimes I might want to slide their back end around and I don't. Can I do that?
Right. Yeah, you can. You can turn traction control completely off through a switch on the handlebar in any of the modes, except for rain, I believe. Is that right, Michael? Or does it work on all? I think it works on all.
I think the traction can work on all.
Yeah,
I think you're on ABS off for that is only available on off-road.
Off-Road Plus.
Plus, yeah.
And it just disables the rear ABS. So you always have the minimal intrusion, most minimal intrusion front ABS, which is, in my opinion, a game changer off-road to be able to have that. But you can, disable the rear ABS to slide, lock that rear tire and slide around a corner.
Okay. So it sounds like the way I understood it, Off-Road Plus would disable that rear ABS and traction control.
It gives a very minimal amount of traction control, the most minimal you can get in Off-Road Plus.
Gotcha.
It does disable the rear ABS, and then you can turn off traction control entirely on top of that on the handlebar switch. And when you turn off traction control, that also turns off your wheelie or your front wheel lift mitigation. So it enables you to loft the front wheel up over an obstacle as well.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Well, since we moved into brake systems a little bit, so I'm just going to throw a couple things out and then you guys can finish it off here. So the way I understand it, a linked braking system. We already talked about ABS. So the bike's definitely got ABS and it's always got front ABS the way you described it. But we can turn off that rear. And then can you talk about the rest of the brake system overall and basically explain what the linked braking system is? I'm kind of familiar with it, but the audience might not be.
Well, linked braking essentially is enabling the system to work as one together. So when you are actuating one lever, the front or the rear, you're enabling some braking pressure in the other side. So it provides a really balanced feel when that's what you want. You can also, by disabling the rear ABS, you're unlinking the system as well. So for that, rider that's very, aggressive off-road rider, they're able to ride the way they want to by locking in the rear tire and shortening, the radius of the corner. So that's able as well. I want to mention it is not just ABS, but it's also, corner and enhanced ABS as well as corner enhanced traction control, which is a technology that utilizes a 6-axis IMU. To understand the motorcycle's lean angle and provide you the traction, whether it be braking or under acceleration, that you have available to you as the rider. So it's a very excellent braking system, and really for a rider, it provides you an ability to make you feel like you're a better rider in many conditions because it's really providing you that safety net.
Let's move into the electronic adjustable suspension. I'm very curious about this and kind of how that works. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we've got two models here. We've got the basic model, and then we've got the special model. The special model comes with the electronic adjustable suspension. And I quite honestly, I don't know what the regular model, so maybe you can answer that, comes with, and then we can dive into the electronic.
Yeah, the base model Pan America 1250 has adjustable suspension, but it's manually adjustable. So you are going in and setting those parameters to what you want them to be, but you have to manually do it yourself. Whereas on the Pan America 1250 Special, it is a semi-active suspension, and it is going on, always giving you that 30% sag. So it's sensing your load. So instead of having you go out and dial your preload up if you're taking a passenger or adding luggage, it's automatically sensing how much payload is on the motorcycle and giving you the right sag level of your suspension. In addition, it's changing the dynamic damping capabilities of the suspension depending on what mode you are in and or what you are trying to do with it. So you can change those parameters as we talked about in custom modes.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so maybe to elaborate a little bit on what I'll call the Pan Am 1250, it has fully adjustable preload, and it also has fully adjustable damping and compression settings. So you can go in there with a tool, basically a screwdriver or a wrench, just like which is common in this segment, and adjust for comfort, for stiffness, based on your own weight, for preload and riding style. And then on the semi-active suspension, which comes on the special, you've got settings that you'll say are like comfort, balance, sport, off-road soft, off-road firm. And these are all tuned to the different, riding behaviors according to those. And those are selectable in those ride modes.
All right. Yeah, awesome. And so in combination, just looking at all this, we've got between ride modes and suspension modes. Can you talked about the customizable modes? Can you incorporate the suspension into the customizable modes too?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, you can really dial things in. All right. So let's move into the clutch system a little bit. I've got a few things to talk about here. So I got to ask, we'll get you on the hot seat. I'm teasing you because it's one of those rider things. But why did you guys decide to go with a cable clutch? I know, and talking about street touring, I know there's a mixed emotions in the community about leaving the hydraulic clutch. And we won't go down in the weeds too far there, but now we see the cable clutch come out on the Pan America. Can you explain that and why we didn't go with the hydraulic clutch like the competitor would be BMW, the 1250 that's using a hydraulic?
I'll just say quickly on touring and in a Pan America as well, a mechanical clutch provides a certain level of feel that is hard to replicate with a hydraulic clutch that really is some riders really prefer. And that's what we were really going for at the end of the day was providing the best lever effort and feel for the rider. And we did that based on a lot of benchmarking and research. But, Michael, if you want to talk more about Pan America specifically.
Yeah, I mean, these decisions you make early on in the program, and I'll say we always start with customer first. And we did hear loud and clear that there's a feeling of feel and control that whereas the hydraulic clutch there's a feel that's maybe people describe it as binary on or off that they don't like, and in particular for low speed maneuverability where people are fettering the clutch and so this customer segment does use this bike this way. Low speed drivability, off-roading is very important to this rider. And so that's why we came up with that the solution of the mechanical clutch. There's pros and cons to both of these. The mechanical service, right, is you have to adjust your dust on the mechanical clutch to keep them adjusted versus the hydraulic clutch. But you also have to replace your hydraulic fluid every 2 years. So there's benefits on that on the service side. So it's really around feel and control that we heard customers prefer.
Okay.
But it's a everyone's got an opinion.
I had to ask because you get on. We've seen it a lot, and I've been one of those. Just and you're never going to please everybody. I get it. So, but you're going to get 50-50 on that. And I've seen the comments on some of my videos. Some like it, some hate it, some like hydraulic better. So, I was just curious what because I ride both, and I get it. The different feels on that. So, all right, let's move into. And you're cutting up just a little bit, Mike, but we'll. Continue on here, see if we get you back a little bit. Just the voice was cutting up there. But I want to talk about the slipper function, since we're talking about the clutch, in conjunction with CDSCS, which is corner enhanced drag torque slip control. What is the slipper function and kind of how in the clutch, and how does that work or benefit an adventure rider?
Well, the basics of it is that you're essentially when you're grabbing downshifts and going into a corner, it's keeping that rear wheel moving versus locking. Especially if you were to come into a corner and maybe downshift one too many times.
Been there,
done it.
Yeah, we've all done it, right? So it's really it feels intuitive and enables you to just better control your cornering situation as you're downshifting into a corner. That's the benefit of it. I don't know, Michael, if you have a color you want to add.
No, it's to prevent that hopping of the rear wheel during an overspeed. And that's why you have slipper.
And
function.
And that's not a ride mode. That's just on the basic model, and the special model is just baked in.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. The infotainment system on this bike. Can you describe basically the infotainment system and some of what it's capable of? Let me ask this question up, and then you can maybe answer that question. But Can you pair your, is it capable of Bluetooth pairing from a headset? So basically you're pairing your phone to the infotainment system and then your headset's paired to the, did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct. You can pair your phone and a headset to it. So it's a 6.8 inch TFT touchscreen, and it basically gives you all your instrumentation and your infotainment functions. It can tilt, so you can do it at different angles. And essentially what you are doing when you pair your phone with it, it enables you to use the Harley-Davidson app with a headset to use navigation that's provided by your phone, as well as, of course, you're able to make phone calls using handlebar controls, and you're able to listen to music or other media that's on your phone. So you get it's voice command, like you may be familiar with in terms of our the Harley-Davidson touring technology. So you can place and receive calls off your mobile device. You can listen to the music that's stored in your phone, those kinds of things.
And on this infotainment system, obviously it's an adventure bike. We got GPS baked in. Is there any sort of monthly service for that, or is that just coming with the Pan America?
Well, no, the navigation system is off of the Harley-Davidson app, which is through your phone.
Yep.
So it does not have a contained GPS in the infotainment system on the motorcycle. So you have to download the Harley-Davidson app, which is a free download. And then when navigation is enabled, you can select either a moving map display, or you can do a turn-by-turn, which are displayed on the screen, on your TFT screen. But it's using your phone for that navigation system through the Harley-Davidson app.
Very interesting. I was not aware of that. Okay, so the next question on that would be then, and I understand this because I use Ride Planner and I use all that, because it's using your phone. You get out of cell service. Now you don't have GPS maps, except that, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but you're able to download maps on your phone ahead of time so that if you lose cell signal, you still got GPS. Am I correct on all that?
That's right. Yeah, you can preload your entire map, your entire route, let's call it, and save it in your memory as a backup if that were to happen, if you were to lose cell signal. Awesome.
Learning something every day on this thing. Okay. So let's finish it up here. I'm going to ask, the adventure touring market obviously is well established. Harley's getting into the game. I assume that Harley overall as a company has had to make some changes, maybe in dealerships, or what are you doing to better serve this segment of some of it was existing customer base, but I think you're going to bring in some new customers too.
Oh, yeah, for certain. And we knew that going in, and we understood that's why, quite frankly, we introduced the motorcycle as early as we did. When we revealed our intent to enter the market, we showed the form factor at EICMA and then at the international motorcycle shows here in the U.S. and around the world, was to bring customers along, the journey with us, but also it enabled us to start talking to our dealers about it and start taking them through training. And not just service training, because it's an entirely new motorcycle and powertrain, but also training for them to understand this customer, who this customer is, what they want, what's important to them, and how they're different from their current customers. And that was hugely important for us. And we lean into the strength of our dealer network, particularly when you think about in the United States. We have a much bigger footprint in the U.S. than many of our established adventure touring customers have in here. So, we're intending those dealers to be fully trained, both technically, but also, from a marketing standpoint and an understanding of the customer needs, to be ready for these customers when they walk into the door.
And so you've had it out for a little while now. How can you tell me the overall how people are responding to it, and are you selling these out of dealerships, or how's the sales going, and overall what you're feeling at this point? Is it a hit? Were you a little worried?
I think we knew we had a hit on our hands. Of course, nothing matters until a customer comes into a dealership and plops their money down, right? But everything, we understand from the field is that the bikes are turning very quickly when they get to the dealerships. Many dealers have waiting lists. And so the response has been very strong. I personally just picked up my bike a week ago Saturday and had a chance to ride it up to Road America for the Superbike races. And I couldn't stop anywhere or be anywhere there on my bike without having to answer a lot of questions from people who are really excited about it. So it does feel like we've got a strong hit on our hands.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm just saying, I think I can't wait. I'm supposed to get my hands on one for a couple days to do a review on it, and I'm super excited for that and to give it a full review. But can you explain this real quick, and then we'll take it out here. If somebody's looking to, and maybe it's not an easy answer, but if I were going into a dealership, and the customer asks, should I buy, who's the regular model for and who's the special model for? If you can basically say that in a nutshell. Yeah,
I would say if someone's going to spend time off-road, if they really believe they're going to be doing off-road riding, I would highly recommend the special, for the advanced ability to tune in terms of the modes, for the, it's better set up for that. If someone, is looking for a more bare bones Pan America, that they don't, for example, maybe they don't really care about, we didn't even talk about this, the adaptive cornering headlight that lights the way through the corner, or, they don't necessarily need to have the technology of semi-active suspension. They're willing to go turn the wrenches themselves and deal with that. Then by all means, save the money and go with the base model. But I do believe that there's a clear definition between those two different customers. There are some customers who really they don't need a lot of bells and whistles, and others who, they want as much cool new technology as they can handle, and then maybe they want to spend a lot of time off road.
Great, and thanks for being here, guys, and thanks for all the information. I had a great time talking with you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys, have a good day. Okay, Lurch, man.
That was a lot of information, my friend.
Dude, awesome. Awesome.
I got to tell you that, in the beginning they're talking about their audience and they were going out and seeing what the Harley riders want, and that, a lot of them were into the touring market. And they talked about the ones that were skeptical. And I was one of those skeptics. You've heard me say on past podcasts that, if I want a Harley, a touring bike, I'm going to get a Harley. If I want an adventure bike, I'm probably going to go with a KLR or something like that. But I got to tell you, the more the research that we've done and the more we've talked to people, and especially after listening to all the stuff this bike has to offer, I'm very intrigued now. It's going to make my choice quite a bit harder.
Yep. It's definitely and I appreciate those guys being on straight from Harley. It's just awesome getting it directly, the direct information, And I learned a few things too. I thought I knew a lot about the bike, and I think I do, but I learned some things there. Just remember, guys, the Pan America, definitely, without getting too in-depth, it's definitely for a specific type of adventure riding. There's not one type of adventure bike. And we've done some past episodes kind of breaking that down, Oscar and I. And the more I get into it, the more I realize that. You're not going to take a Pan America necessarily every place you take a KLR, and vice versa.
Right.
The Pan America, it's a heavier bike, but it's right in line with that BMW, R1250 GS. They're going to be for, you're going to Alaska, you're riding fire roads, Forest Service roads. That bike's not for single track and crazy more hardcore dirt oriented. Which we tend to do a little bit more back in our area.
Right.
But it's definitely for that touring. It's an adventure touring. There you go. It's got the touring on it. Where, something like the KLR, it does better in some situations on dirt and things like that because it's more dirt oriented, but
it's great on the highway.
It's going to be less good on the highway.
Right.
Although I did do a lot of highway miles yesterday. But yeah, so anyways, just take it for what it is. And if you're into that type of riding, that is a definite contender within the market. Let's thank these guys. Of course, we love our patron members. We want you to become a patron member. We want you in the Facebook group. We want to get to know you better. But hey, we want to get you benefits, basically. But if you only want to leave a flat donation, we'll never balk at a flat donation. We want to thank Jack Rebert of Phoenix, Arizona. Substantial donation. Samuel Orr of Mechanicsville, Virginia. And Matthew Shadek of Fort Atkinson, Iowa. lawabidingbiker.com/donate is how they did that, guys. All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview, and there you go. We hope in the future, as new iterations of even touring models and things, Harley, it seems like, is opening up a little bit more to, PR stuff.
Yeah.
And we would love to have those folks and get information directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and bring it right to you guys. So, excited to have them on. And if everything goes as planned, we'll get a Pan America in our hands for a couple days for a full ride and review.